All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live video in my Facebook group, the Portrait Photographers Resource. Today is very special because I have an amazing guest. You may know him. He's been a speaker at Imaging USA, WPPI, many other conferences around the country. I want to introduce you all to a phenomenal photographer and business owner, Jason Marino. Jason, can you say hi to everyone?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Glad to be here, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad we accidentally coordinated the promo photos together. You know, we got the same barber, we got the nice same or similar tailored suits. It's I like your style, my
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. Oh man, you're like my brother from another mother. So you know who else? Justin
Exactly.
Hagen. Like the three of us, you and Justin Hagen. We're like it's like twinsies time, man. Triplets.
We absolutely. I actually need to get Justin on here for one of these. He's a good friend of mine as
Oh,
well,
he's
and
great.
yeah, I haven't had him on one of these, so that's actually a good suggestion. We'll definitely get him on here. But
Mm.
yeah, thank you again, Jason, for joining us. This is going to be our last image critique of 2023, so I'm honored for you to be here joining us.
That's really kind of you to have me. I'm excited. This is my first one with you for the last time this year, so that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So, for those of you who do not know Jason, he and his wife Joanne are photographers based in Arizona, but they basically service all of the Southwest because they are high in demand luxury portrait photographers. But I'm going to let you introduce yourself, kind of for those people who don't know who you are, give them an idea of who you are and what you guys do, and anything you want to share to paint a picture for us.
Oh man. Okay. Well, it all started in 1975, and no, yeah. I mean, basically, yeah. Joe and I, we live in northwestern Arizona. We're just outside of Las Vegas. We kind of consider Vegas our home base because that's where we fly out of. That's where we do a lot of our work. We own a portrait studio and do a lot of. We used to shoot weddings. Now we've kind of cut that out of our repertoire and our lives, save our bodies a little, but. Lots of portraiture, lots of in-person sales, and we love selling wall art and albums, and we love displaying those same things in our home. So we like to sell what we love. We also own a volume school and sports company, which is doing really great. And actually, some of our employees are at a shoot right now in Las Vegas. So it's kind of a cool thing because we get to stay home mostly, and that business runs itself. It's scaling really cool and become like a really major part of our business. It's funny because we never thought we'd be doing something like that. We always kind of thought that was a silly thing, but it's an incredible path to go down, financially, especially. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. So anyway, we're happy. We're having fun. Here we are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And sorry if you said I may have missed it. How long have you two been in business together for?
Oh man, so let's see. I met Joe in '05, and we've been working. She was a photographer already, and she was shooting weddings for friends of mine. I was like, hey, this is kind of neat. Can I try it out? So she gave me like this little point and shoot to tinker with at one of the weddings, and she's like, don't touch my cameras. Take this thing. And I thought it was fun, and you started tagging along with her. And in around 2009, I think it was like, okay, you've been doing this for a while. You're good at it. Let me, make it a real thing. And we did. And so about 2009, it's been like 14 years. We've been rocking and rolling.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I know this is such a a hard question to answer, but if you could share or give some insight on maybe what the biggest contribution to your success has been. Like what's been the most what's the one thing that's basically helped you find your success within the industry? Is it
That's
like more
actually no, it's such an easy question. And because I
okay.
talk about this all the time, it's the relationships.
Okay.
Literally, it's like end of story. It's relationships. Like the relationships that we've made are how we, became, raised our, elevated our photography. They're the reason we've met people like you and the companies we work with, and all the friends we've made. And when you have those relationships, it opens the doors for you. It creates opportunity. It creates opportunity in learning. It creates opportunity in technique. It creates opportunity in friendship, and you all work together to help each other. So that community from those friendships and relationships is really, for me, I mean, biggest part of why I'm sitting where I'm at right now and why we're doing what we do.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I met you guys the first time at WPPI. I think I've seen you there every year. And absolutely, I mean, and being part of that community is really special, and helping each other grow. One of my favorite quotes is something along the line, verbatim, is something along the lines of, you should be building other photographers up, not trying to be in competition with them. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
truer words have never been spoken. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do see you guys' comments here about my audio being pretty low. Hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better. I just turned up the mic on me a little bit, but if we keep having issues, I will try to adjust that. And speaking of the comments, if you guys are watching live, please feel free to leave a comment if you have a question for either Jason or myself. We would love to answer them. I am watching at the to the right here, so we'll go ahead
I
and
just
do
turned that
that.
on myself.
Yeah, perfect. So you can join in on the
Okay.
fun. For those of you who are new, basically what's going to happen is we are going to look at 20 of your images that you submitted, and we are going to go through one by one and give you some critiques on them, some things that we like, some things that we feel like you could improve on. We're gonna be real with you, okay? We're not going to sugarcoat it. If we feel like there's something that needs to be improved, we're gonna be honest. We're gonna give you, we're not here to just give you a whole bunch of praise and say good job, keep going, Slugger. No, we're actually here to help you grow as photographers. So please do not please do not be offended if we're maybe a little bit too harsh, but we will certainly try to be as polite as we can. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to choose a random winner to win a free canvas print from Pro Prints, who is our sponsor of this video. So thank you so much
Nice.
for your continued support, Pro Prints.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, what do you think, dude? Are you ready to rock and roll?
Oh man, yeah, I'm excited. I critique. It was so big in helping me grow personally as a photographer, whether it be from my wife, who had been doing it for probably 15 years before me, to like people like Ben Chrisman, who gave me some really honest, brutal,
Yeah.
input. And I'll never forget half the things he told me. And so I love critique because it's such a powerful tool, and you can learn so much from it. And giving critique now and being in a place where I can is just really quite an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when I first joined the industry, there was one photographer that I really, really looked up to, and I brought some images to him for critique. This is the first year I was in business, and I thought he was going to be like, yeah, like these are awesome, keep it up, good job. I was fully expecting to go into that critique with those comments because I was really proud of the work I was going to show him, and he ripped me apart. But it's exactly
Man.
what I needed to hear, because I'm like, okay, like this guy, obviously I have respect for this guy. I know what he's talking, he knows what he's talking about. And I took those those words of advice to heart, and it really has helped me grow. So
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
gonna
And I
try to
think one quick,
yeah,
if it's okay, if I give one quick piece of advice to the people that are
please.
having us critique their photos, it's really important that you listen to hear versus listen to respond. So as we're sharing these things, I know we're not all having a conversation, but just sit there and think about it instead of sitting there and thinking about the excuses as to why you might have done something a certain way. You know what I mean? Live critique, there's a thing with that. People will be like, yeah, but I did it because of this. It's like, yeah, but that's not, let's talk about next time. So I just want to share that.
Right. No, that's actually some really good advice, because, if you're submitting your photos to a competition, for example, the judges don't care about how was happening in your life at that point, whether, your camera wasn't working properly, or the conditions weren't good, or the mother of the bride was being mean, whatever the case may be. They don't care about that. They only care about the end result. And so do your
There
clients
you
as well.
go.
So that's some great advice. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get rolling here. Let me pull up my screen. Okay, everyone, you should be able to see the photo on my screen. This first photo comes from a photographer, and his name is Steve Eaton. He gave some details on how he created this image, and it was soaking rain all day. The wedding was on a dinner cruise boat. Last shot of the evening before exiting the ship. One flash directly behind the couple pointed up into the umbrella, the other flash against the railing to light the rain. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you kick this one off, Jason,
Oh
and give
man.
me some thoughts of what you think. I have a couple things I would love I can see right away, but I'm curious to see if you see the same things as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So one thing that I can say is like we've all seen this photo a lot. I've got 10 or 20 of them, I'm sure, that I love, and it's this very similar photo. It wasn't on a dinner cruise, unfortunately, but the first thing I notice is you know I actually like that there's some rain on the lens, creating some cool kind of
Mm-hmm.
gobo vibes and creating some effects with the light. The raindrops. I mean, yes, you can clean them up, but I think it looks kind of cool. It's a little hot. The
Yep.
highlights are up there so much that we've lost some detail. But like they're posed, they're touching, they're engaged. That's kind of a cool thing. I don't think I would need to see the tables and chairs, so I would have burned that stuff down or tried to eliminate that in my crop a little bit, maybe shot a little lower angle so you were getting their arms and some of their body up into the sky and kind of get rid of some of that. Those other elements can be distracting, or even move them back further so they were closer to the rail to get rid of those elements.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Little hot, especially on their face. Maybe brush some of the highlights. That would definitely help a lot. I also find the chairs and the railing a little bit distracting. I would probably, um, burn those out a little bit. Just decrease the highlights, decrease the exposure to bring more attention back to the couple, more attention back to the rain, because I don't feel like those are necessarily adding anything to the image. Um,
Right.
Other thing too is you kind of have some weird shadows going on the bride's arm, and speaking from experience, that is something that just looking at this image, she probably wouldn't find super flattering. So I would consider cleaning up those shadows a little bit, smoothing out that arm. I think your bride would be a lot more. She'd be a lot happier if you were to do that. But those are my main critiques, just to add on to what you
And
said. So.
yeah, and I see it looks like it was dodged a bit on her forearm and hand, but
Mm-hmm.
then on when it gets to her elbow, it's got the shadowing comes back that was almost lifted. You can see because you can see the noise where her hand and forearm are. So it looks like they lifted some shadow there, but then didn't kind of follow through and get it up through the
Yeah.
elbow and all that. But yeah, I mean it's a cool photo. I don't know if this is the first time this person's done it. I mean you see it a lot, so I'm not going oh my god, but it's a neat photo. Another thing you can do, going forward, if you ever want to have some fun with this, is drag your shutter a little bit more and use second curtain sync, and it'll create these really cool streaks with the raindrops at the end of the streaks, which will create a
Okay.
really cool effect. And you can really
Yeah.
elevate the photo that way.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea. Very good idea for sure. Well, hey, Steve, I think this is a phenomenal photo, especially since you just started in the industry recently. Actually, he made a post recently saying he's a brand new photographer. So I'd say for a brand new
Right.
photographer, this is pretty impressive. So very nice.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah. All right. So this next photo comes from a regular contributor. This is from Radon Burton. Um, Looks like it might be a
Fun.
senior photo of some sort, but um, let's take a look here and see if my. It looks like I mean my screen's pretty properly calibrated, but a couple things I'm thinking I would like to see happen a little bit differently. So the biggest thing for me, and this is just so minor, but the biggest thing for me I'm seeing is there's a weird shadow being cast on I guess her right side of the face, her left side if we're looking at it, and it's just like a really straight shadow. It's a little distracting. I'm not sure what that is being caused by, if it's from natural light or maybe some fill light she added in. Looks like it's from natural light, but I'd probably have her turn her face just a little bit more towards the light source so you can minimize that. And then I'd also like to see maybe some more detail in the shadows, because there is a really cool location. You have a lot of graffiti and some industrial elements. Um, but that's just kind of some of the technical stuff. Jason, what do you think about the pose? Do you dig this pose? Do you think there's something that we could do to improve it, or how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, so well, the first thing I was noticing was the same thing with that shadow, and part of me was wondering if I'm almost thinking that there's a flash or something down low, and it's shooting up because you can see where the nose ring is hitting with the shadow too, and it's obviously light's coming from below and going upward, and then I think her nose is what's causing that light, and so you'd want
Okay.
that. It's doing that the sitting around the campfire effect where the light's going upward, and it can be flattering in the right circumstance. Sometimes it can be kind of odd, but that was just something I was thinking about that shadow. What I
Yep.
do love is like the pose and everything. It's like super punk rock, and that's
Yeah, I
what
love
I
that.
uh, I like about her. Like I'm super into more edgy stuff. This is something I would prefer to shoot and really enjoy doing. Um, I don't have any type of opinion on women's bodies and things like that, but I think that it's not a bad idea to burn down the pants a little bit so that we don't have like an open crotch shot to the camera. We try to avoid those with guys, girls, whoever. I don't I don't think it's a huge issue, but if it's like a teenager and I'm a parent and I have I have like 20-year-olds and stuff like that. I don't necessarily want to see shots like that with their legs open to the camera. Uh, but it's definitely not like this whole like, oh, women shouldn't do that thing. It's more like just anybody
Sure.
shouldn't do that, in my
Fair enough.
opinion. So
Fair
I
enough.
don't know. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's some great advice actually. Something I wouldn't really have thought of. And again, it is kind of a little underexposed in the shadows there. So I'm thinking maybe I'm not noticing it as much. But that's a very good
No,
point for sure. If
it's
there was
probably
more
too bright on
more
my
detail,
screen.
yeah, I don't know.
But
It could be
yeah,
my screen not being calibrated
setting's cool. You
properly.
know what's dope is that the person really fits the setting. The
Oh,
outfit
100%.
fits the setting. Their hair color fits the setting. I mean, it's a graffitied old building, and you've got this punk rock chick, and that's super cool. So I dig that.
Right on. Yeah. So yeah, Radon did say that's exactly what she did. She did place a flash, outside of the window, pointed towards her, and the
So
flash was, angled up a little bit. So that's why you're getting that weird kind of shadow. So Radon, yeah, that's a super easy fix. I would probably just edit that shadow a little bit in post production. If it bothers you, it probably doesn't bother the
yeah.
client, but just speaking technically, something to improve on. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. And there's probably a few other things in the pose you could probably make some slight adjustments with that are nitpicky, but just might make it cool. And you might even have other shots like with her. You can turn her hand around where she's grabbing more like this, the one that's on the
okay.
window frame. I know there's two ways to do that. You could also get her right heel, which is on the left side of the picture, and have her put her heel into the wall, like and so that her knees up a little bit,
Oh
and
yeah.
get a little bit more bend in that knee, that's just that foot that's dangling, and then it will allow for even a more of a tighter crop if you wanted to really bring out more detail in the subject. But it's a kind of a it's a cool vibe though overall. I like it.
Totally, totally. Awesome. Well, hey, Radon, as always, thank you so much for submitting. We're going to go ahead and move on now. This next one comes from Caitlin Creasman. Yep, no information other than the photo that she submitted. Let's see here.
This
Why
one's
don't
is
you
it
start
Caitlin
this one?
Rice? You said
What's up?
is it Caitlin Rice on this one?
Yeah, yeah, Caitlin Rice Creasman.
Okay, I don't see your screen. I'm just looking at the what I've got on my side.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So, yeah, why don't you take this away?
All right. I mean, okay. So, what my first impression is that it looks like an on-camera flash snapshot of somebody's kid that they love and care about, and just wanted to take a cute picture of their kid. I mean, that's my initial impression of this. I don't see a lot of like finesse or any particular thought into like how it was going to come together. I think it might have just been a kid hanging out and playing, and they were snapping some pictures. I don't know if it's like a portrait or something that someone actually was setting up to do. It just feels like more of a snapshot with a with a on camera flash. But I could be completely wrong. I don't know. A little
Yeah, I
bright.
mean, yeah, it is very bright for sure. I think that's probably my biggest problem with the image is I don't know if it was on camera flash. It very well could be because I'm looking at the catchlight in this kid's eyes, and it's definitely pretty apparent that there's some very bright light source there, whether it's the sun or a flash, like you said.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, it is very bright. There's not a lot of direction to it, so the lighting is a little flat, a little harsh. And then the wall is what really distracts me because it's a lighter colored wall. That light is just really reflecting off of it back towards the viewer. So you look at the photo and it's just like boom, big overexposed wall right in your face. So
Yep.
having a little bit more thought into what you want your light to do is I think would really help build the quality of this image a little bit more, as well as some post production, like essentially decreasing those highlights on the wall there. You can use the adjustment brush tool and bring those highlights down, so you're focusing your attention a little bit more on your subject. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it's a good moment. I know from experience, toddlers this age can be extremely hard to take photos of. I've done many family shoots, and it's always a gamble. You never know. So if this was for a client, I'm sure the client would be pretty happy. But like you said, to echo what you said, Jason, I wouldn't say there's necessarily anything that is overwhelmingly awesome about from a creative standpoint. It's just just a nice image.
Yeah, and can I add real quick? So
Hmm.
one thing I'm a huge proponent of is cropping your shit. And
Yes, me too.
if you take this picture and throw a 4x5 or something crop on it, and then crop into where you're showing the darker part of the wall, and from his second button up, and just do a nice cropped in, you get rid of a lot of the other things that are happening that aren't adding to the story here. There's no story in this space. And so just making it all about the subject, I'm just doing it in photo mechanic here. That little nice little 4x5 crop brings it in close. It gets rid of the wrinkly shirt and the jeans and everything, and just makes it a much cuter photo that's really about the kid's face. So I thought I'd try that out real fast. I think it works
Yeah,
pretty well in the
absolutely. I
audio.
I just cropped it in as well on the live video for everyone to see, and yes, it is significantly better cropped in a little bit tighter. So, and Caitlin did just comment and said that yes, it was from a family shoot. She was using a 200-watt strobe with a softbox right
Wow.
above him. So,
Yeah, and also, what would help significantly is if that's a 200-watt strobe in a softbox. If you look in his eyes, the light's tiny. It looks almost like a bare flash. You can really turn that thing down and get it in closer and get it offset. I would go to the right side of the frame here and create a nice loop light with that light. It'd be a big, pretty soft light source that would really help that
absolutely.
image. Yeah,
Yep, absolutely. Light it from camera right, bring it a little bit tighter, crop it a little bit tighter, and I think you have a recipe for a really good photo. So,
there you go.
Caitlin, thank you so much for submitting. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and move on to another regular contributor. This photo comes from photographer Scott Tibbles, and he shot this with a 300-watt strobe, a 24-inch softbox, gridded. He gridded the back left of her hair as a kicker light, and then her friend was holding a mag gel with a blue with a blue gobo projector on a speed light on the garage door. So
Loving that.
quite a fancy lighting setup here. Looks like we got three lights. So
Yeah.
definitely the thought was put into this.
Yeah. You want me to go or?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I'm a big fan of building light in a scene and starting with the ambient and then adding, your lights as you go and getting where you want them. And so there's a lot of finesse here that shows that okay, yeah, you know how to use a light, you know what you're doing, and that's really cool. I love that. It's got finesse. It's got all that good stuff. What's cool too is that at least on my screen, like there's detail in the grass. I can see the
Mm-hmm.
green and the color in that, and also the light falls off in the places where I don't need my eye to go. Um, but then I also think, okay, well, then I also don't necessarily have to have the entire wall back there, but it is an interesting part of the story. She's framed in it really well. The composition works really nicely because she's framed perfectly inside of that garage door. And you could do a close-up shot of this with a tighter crop as a secondary shot so that you have a shot that's setting the scene, and then you have a shot that comes in tight and really then tells some of the story as well. But yeah, it's got a lot of good technique. They've lit it well. The light isn't quite a perfect loop light, but that's just me nitpicking. If it was up a little
Mm-hmm.
higher, the shadow would drop down a little below the nose and become a little bit more of a proper technique, air quote. But yeah, I mean, overall it's a fun picture. I love the gobo with the blue gel on the back wall,
Yeah.
and composition's great. So pretty good job.
Yeah, I can't really add much more. I would say my only biggest critique maybe is crop it a little bit tighter to get rid of some of the distracting elements on the right side of the frame. Maybe play a little bit more with the lighting. It is pretty punchy, but it's cool though. It does fit the vibe, I think, of the image, and it makes it, for a more contrasty photo. So I'm sure she was very happy with this, and he did provide a behind the scenes shot,
Oh,
just to
okay,
kind of
cool.
give you an idea of what
Oh yeah.
the environment looked like without using natural, or excuse me, without using artificial created light. So yeah, definitely quite a difference between this photo and then the final result. Just goes to show what you can create with off camera flash.
Yeah, and they killed the ambient. It looks like they must have shot it during around the same time, and then they were able to knock down all the ambient.
Yep.
Looking at the time, yeah, it was 4:53 and then 5 p.m. So yeah, they were able to knock down the ambient light in camera and make it look like it was shot at nighttime, which is a really cool thing. It's a lot of finesse, and that's not something that people do as soon as they start as a photographer, not on purpose anyway.
Right.
So they had a vision and they executed it quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Scott, one other thing to add, just again from experience, knowing what annoys clients, particularly female clients. You got a couple of flyaways on the top of her head there. I know it's annoying as heck to edit those out, but I promise you, like, women, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but women hate when they have flyaways like that. So
Joe?
just,
Yeah, Joe nods in agreement. She hates having flyaways in her pictures, and with the
yeah,
backlight, it definitely shows.
Can I
So,
yep.
just
With the
oh, she
backlight,
wants
it's
to.
yeah.
Joanne wants
say
to.
something?
Joanne would like to say something off
Oh,
camera. Yes,
we
Joe.
got a guest appearance. Okay,
You missed the
what's up,
parent.
Joanne?
Um, I am very detailed with hair, and I know one of my pet
Oh,
peeves, and a lot of people don't notice it, but I don't like the hair connecting in the middle. Like I like to have some breathing room,
Okay.
right?
so you have them
Just
pull their
separating
hair
a
and
little bit.
separate it a little bit, so it's not coming together in the middle.
Ah,
Little detail thing with hair that goes a long way. So that's very good, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll
I
go.
didn't notice it because I always forget about the same thing. She's like, "You got to fix their hair." I'm like, "Okay,
I'll, I'll go back and do it
Yeah."
next
She's
time.
like, "She go back to editing now."
yeah, that's some very good advice. Actually, something I didn't even think about. A very good tip. Oh, my dog is barking. Dog is barking. So no worries. Just telling my roommate to shut up. Hey, Liam. It's okay. You just want to say hi. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to this next image. Scott, thank you so much for submitting this.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
This next photo comes from another regular contributor, John Hawking. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, this is kind of cool. A little bit different than what we usually feature here. This was looks like a newborn shoot, or at least pre-toddler. It looks like this baby might be around 6 months or so. But he had a camera mounted to a C stand over the baby. Used a cheetah stand holding a 400-watt strobe and a softbox camera left. Black backdrop laying on the ground.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's see here. I like the theme. I like the idea of what's happening here. It's kind of fun. It's kind of creative. You're tying in Halloween with Day of the Dead, so that's kind of unique. Um,
Yeah.
I'm
It.
I. Oh yeah. What were we gonna say?
I don't know. I think I like the baby's cute and like the idea is fun. I feel like it's kind of there's so little detail and the blacks are crushed so much that it looks almost like clip art that was
Right.
placed throughout the photo. Not that that's even a bad thing. I've never seen anything like it. It's a singularly unique photograph
It
because I've
is
never seen
absolutely.
this. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at it going, I don't know. It's so unique. It's cool. I love the vibes. I just yeah, it's more like art
Hmm.
than to me than like photography, and it's in a weird way because I'm getting such clip art vibes from those elements.
Yeah, it
Um,
does kind of
you
look like
know,
he yeah
yeah. I
pieced
mean,
together.
obviously, if you want to just take a picture of a baby, you definitely don't have to have all that, but it's super. It's fun, and I mean, it's a good time, and this would probably get lots of likes on Facebook, and I mean, it's cute kid. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Execution wise, I mean, the exposure is not too bad. The kid on my screen, the kid's a little hot. I'm not sure about on yours. I showed the highlights on my histogram are just starting to ramp up and go off the edge. But it's yeah. What do you
Yeah,
got?
I probably would have used. I don't know what size softbox he used. He didn't specify, but I think for newborns especially, you want really really soft light, right? And
Yeah.
I'm thinking this would have benefited a lot from a really big softbox, getting
Yeah.
even more soft light because I am seeing some specularity on the baby. I mean, this is super technical stuff, right? And the
Yeah.
light is just a little bit flat. This is almost a photo like I feel like would have been awesome if he just like put lit this in front of like during the day in front of like a really big window just to get that really
Yeah.
nice diffused light in. Um, but it is super cute. It's a light's a little flat, but other than that, I mean, that would be my only critique just from the perspective of a professional photographer. But if I was a client and I saw this, I'm sure the client was like super stoked on it.
Yeah, something I am noticing when I actually zoom in and start moving things around, some
Hmm.
of the burning, I think that was done in post, under the baby's foot that's hanging out over that doily thing or whatever it is, you can actually see lighter lines and stuff from brushes and tools that were used around the baby's foot. And there's even a straight line that goes out of its knee down to that napkin looking thing where if you can get your screen bright enough, you can actually see the editing work, and even over by the baby's right knee on the or left knee on the right side of the photo. So there's like a little bit of stuff in there that if you were to print this, you might actually see
Okay.
some of these issues because they weren't quite finished to perfection. But yeah, man, it's fun. Big soft light is great for babies, like you mentioned. There's some specular light going on and causing some things with the highlights. But it's
Yeah.
an interesting photo. Yeah, someone would love it.
Yeah. Touch up the skin a little bit, John. I think that would really help.
Yeah,
Zooming in on this photo, it's a little bit more apparent. So just clean up that skin. I think you got a very very solid photo here. So thank you so much for submitting that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. This next photo comes from photographer Colby Walker, another Lara Photography Workshop alumni.
right on.
Okay. So let's see here. Looks like, let's see if he provided any behind the scenes info. Yes, he did. He used a gridded Magbox Pro 42-inch on a 400-watt strobe. He took two shots, one with the lighting, one without, to do composite to edit out. Okay, his assistant. He used a 24-70 to shoot the railing to frame the bride. In hindsight, he thinks he should have used a colored gel to light the railing so it would have popped better. Okay, okay. So, one thing I'm seeing here is like, it's kind of like a little bit of loss of detail in some areas, right? Like you're getting a lot of kind of blown out, muddy highlights from outside in the windows. Her head's getting lost a little bit in the background. Um, and then you also have some loss of detail in her dress as well. Like so you have, especially around her chest, you see some overexposed whites there. It just seems like the whites are muddled, the blacks are a little muddled. There's just some, I think there's some tone issues with this photo. Um,
Yeah,
and and again, that their head getting lost in that background right there is a little distracting for me as well. But I do
yeah,
like the attempt to introduce and incorporate some sort of foreground element here because it does add some visual interest, but maybe not necessarily with a gel Colby, but yeah, maybe putting like a light in the foreground could bring more attention to the railing that you're trying to frame her with. But um, that's kind of all I got. I'm not sure how I feel about the composition. I think she's a little too centered. Anything to add, Jason?
yeah. I mean, so for me, I would have placed her to where she's in that wood wainscoting that's slightly more to the right. If you're going to have to show her anywhere that's not like just in the floor, or if you were lower. But I mean, if you could have moved her to the right and shot that way, and she's closer to the third. Also, the windows are really blown out and distracting. And the key, again, the brightest element of a photo is where the eye wants to go to first. And unfortunately, for me, like I can't get over the windows, and they keep
Yeah.
distracting me away from looking at the subject. Um, so I would have darkened the space some more, and then probably if you could. I know you're probably shooting a wedding during this, but being good at this stuff during a wedding is really what separates those who do great things from those who do good things. You know what I mean? And so you could have moved her over to the right a bit, then use a rim light to cut her out of that background a little bit and create a way of seeing her more easily. And still light her from the front as well. Then you could have made the space quite a bit darker, darkened out the windows, and exposed for those first, so that you had some really kind of spooky element. You could have lifted the room at that point then and been able to control what was outside those windows. So that's kind of a thing I would have done there. You could have recomposed it and shot her possibly from a different direction, depending. And I'm sure there's some other photos, but the windows are a big distraction for me. And it would have been cool even having her leaning with her back against the post on the right, and then moving your camera to the right so that she's framed in the brown wainscoting that's slightly off center.
Yep, definitely. And one other thing too, I want to add that I'm seeing is Colby, you broad lit her, and I think it would have looked much better, not only lighting wise, but just flattering. It's more flattering to her if you short lit her. So
Yep.
basically, if she was in the same exact pose that she is in right now, to short light her, you would have wanted to light her from the right side of the frame. So she's looking into the light as opposed to out of the light, because what's happening is you are lighting the largest part of her face. That's what broad lighting is, and it basically it's not as flattering by short lighting their face, aka lighting the
Yep.
shorter part of her face. So that is another thing I would have personally done as well. If you couldn't move the flash, all you need to do to short light her is basically you just have her turn the other way. So her hips and her chest are pointed slightly towards camera left. Instead, you could have her shift her feet, have her face towards camera right, and then have her look the opposite direction back into the light, and that would also achieve that short light look as well. So
Yep, totally. I love
something to
that.
keep in mind.
Love that.
I learned that actually years ago at WPPI, from a speaker. I can't remember who it was, but really good advice. So
Joe and I are very inspired by film and television, and we watch everything we watch. We're looking at the way it's lit, and so like the way we light everything is very cinematic. And short light is a very, very commonly used term when you're
yep.
doing film and TV. So we talk about that a lot.
Yes, and that's something you can add to your portfolio. As you are officially an actor, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess I am. So officially an actor and officially a double.
Awesome. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, Jason was I can't remember what TV show it was were you on
I'm
recently?
on Unstable on Netflix, and then I do doubling for Dwayne Johnson too. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
a lot of fun. I've been I got some Grey's Anatomy castings I keep getting asked to do every day, and I can't do them right now, so I'm not. So I've been like avoiding them. My agency keeps sending me emails, and I'm like, sorry, can't do it. And I wish
Oh
I could.
man,
It'd be fun. It's a cool
that
show.
would be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Anyway,
hey,
enough about me.
no, no worries. It is fun to talk about you though, because you're pretty
It's
awesome. But
it's
all right,
different. Life's different.
all right, we're gonna move on. This next photo comes from Corey Wilkes. Wow, this. Oh, actually, I know exactly where this is. I recognize that mountain range.
I've never seen it in my
Actually,
life.
well, I know it because I can see this mountain range from my office window right here.
Oh, okay. So it's
Um,
Colorado, or yeah.
Yeah, and actually, those of you who are watching, you can't see because Jason's head is in the way. Let me move Jason a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so there we go. We move it. You can see those two little peaks right there. If I'm pretty sure I'm correct. I could be wrong, but it looks like Long's Peak, which is what. Yep, Long's Peak. I was right. Corey just confirmed it. Yep, I can see. I have this view from my office window. It's pretty crazy. I'm really blessed to be here. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna move you back down. Okay, there we go. So I think it's very obvious. You're saying the same thing I am, in that is the tones, or the variation between the highlights and the shadows are a little off. And what I mean by that is you have some pretty blown highlights in the background, and you don't have enough light on the subject. And that's pretty apparent. Pretty easy fix with some practice, but basically the way you solve that is you just slightly underexpose your ambient light a little bit more, and then you also increase the power output from your flash. So it looks like maybe a softbox was used here, but I can't, and I can only say, I think that because I'm looking at the transition of the shadow, especially under her top, and it's a pretty clean defined line, but it's a little soft. And I'm gonna guess, actually I haven't looked at the notes yet, I'm gonna guess this was shot with a 24-inch softbox. Oh my gosh, I was right. Yep.
Yep,
This is how
yep,
this is how, I've been doing this for 14 freaking years, man. I can just look at a photo and know exactly how it was shot. Yeah, so
yeah.
it was shot with a 600-watt strobe, a 24-inch softbox, and yep, long speak in the background. Okay.
And it was short
um,
lit.
and it was shortlet. So Corey did light this correctly, so to speak. So those are just the technical things. The scenery is phenomenal. The composition's great. I personally I kind of like her pose. She looks a little stiff, but I think maybe with some minor tweaks, this could be a really rock star image. I'm
A
gonna
little
guess
bend in that. You know.
yeah, I'm gonna guess this was kind of shot near Longmont, Corey. If I'm correct, let me know just by kind of looking at where at the fields and the placement and everything. But what do you have to add, Jason? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So what would help with that stiffness look is to get a little more bend in the right arm to where she's lifting slightly with that arm as she is with the left. And I know this is such a nitpick, but those are little things that Joe and I were always trying to create triangles in body parts. So everything needs to have a bend in it, so it creates a triangle. Everything should have a bend, every joint for us, generally speaking. And something I would not be afraid to play with because people get super creative with stuff is if you look at TV and film, a lot of times the backgrounds are blue tones and the subjects are your orange tones. And man, would this sky and that mountain range and everything look incredible if it was had some blue tones to it and was brought in a little more darker so we could see a little more detail because it's a little hazy. So dehaze it a bit, get some blues in there, all that beautiful golden. Well, it's probably barley since this is where Coors is made, right? So, but that beautiful golden barley, but cool off everything just a tiny bit, and then
Yeah.
have the warmth of the foreground and the warmth of the subject, and it would look unbelievable. It seems to me that there wasn't like the background just kind of got left alone in post production, and then it was just more like, hey, does my person look good? Cool. And I love making the sky look crazy and make those mountains look incredible. That'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to see the picture re-edited like that. It'd be neat to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing you could do, Corey, is use the person selecting tool in InDesign, or excuse me, InDesign. I was using InDesign earlier in Lightroom, and increase the exposure of her. It's so easy now with the new selection tool.
Yeah.
That would really help. But yeah, also clean your image sensor. Top of the image, you got it, some sensor dust. But
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but anyway, yeah, real. I love this. This is the very style I super resonate with. I was right about the Longmont comment. This is shot in Longmont, Colorado. It's like I know my state.
I see some brush cloning in the top right too. It looks like a band-aid running along there. There's like
Oh,
a
yep, you're
rounded
right.
end to it. So just kind of be careful on that stuff. So if you went to print this for somebody in an album, it'd probably stick out. So just something to be careful about.
Yeah, I need to clear
Man,
my
what
screen.
a lot of potential here. But yeah, the shadows are a little dark on the subject, and
Yeah.
she needs a little more pop. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, thank you so much for submitting. Really, really neat. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on. This next photo comes from Naomi, and Naomi O'Hara said that she captured this with two lights, with two Geekoto GT200s. I might add, which
Hey.
is the best flash system in the world. She used a CTO gel on the backlight and one light with a grid to light up her face. Okay, I'm just gonna say that this is fucking awesome. I love this photo
Yeah,
so much. I really do.
yeah.
Excuse the
This is
language, but it was worth an F bomb.
Yeah, this is masterfully done. The exposure is great. The detail in the shadows is great. The light power for the key light is great. Her skin looks satin and silky, and even where the highlights are at, where you could easily make those, be too specular and too bright. They look it's really satiny and silky looking. I love the orange added in for the warmth. We were talking about the blues, and so the sky is very blue, and then everything's kind of neutral, and then the subject's very warm and rich looking, and those great tones from that secondary light source. This is just a lot of fun and really, really well executed technically, and I love the composition. She is framed inside of the mountains that follow a similar, that have a peak to them, and
Perfect.
everything's happening and going upward and moving upward, which then draws your eye up into the stars, and it's really neat.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have maybe two and a half critiques, I should say,
Yeah.
and the half is more personal preference, which I'll start with, and that is, I do like the composition, but I feel like almost maybe she should have tilted her camera just slightly more up so we can see a little bit more sky and a little less foreground, because
Mm,
the subject is just barely teetering, playing with that line of being in the center of the frame, and you all know how much I don't like placing your subject in the center of the frame. So maybe just that slight adjustment would really make the photo even better for me. But I'm nitpicking. It's dealer's choice here, and I think it's a phenomenal image. Two other small things. First of all, this is always very, very hard with long trains, and I personally haven't really found a really good way to do it without introducing a second light. But um, you have such a strong, light, a strong exposure on the subject, but then it just falls off, and you don't see a lot of detail in the train of the dress. And I personally would like to see more detail there, and I think that can be achieved by adding in another light, lighting just the train. Obviously, that's more work. It's a pain in the ass, but I think it would really, really elevate this photo a lot more. And then finally, I think the light on this subject is just slightly blue, and I would like to see that maybe a little warmer to kind of match the light from the orange gel and the backlight.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I do see what
Hi,
you're
Joe.
saying there. The skin tone.
Hi,
I just
hi.
she's got a phone call. Yeah, the
Okay.
skin tone could be a hair more orange. I see that. And then Scott actually wrote, "I wish I could get skies like that." I don't know where you're at,
Right.
but as far as technically goes, it's just it's an 8 second exposure. Looks like they use
Yes.
second curtain sync, and so that you didn't have a dot then a streak. You have a streak then the star. So like an 8 second exposure, second curtain sync, and I mean, you're there. It's just adding in your lights to the subject to make that work. But you can definitely start just by practicing those longer, up to about 20 seconds. You'll get decent skies without too much streaking. But
Right.
yeah, this is cool. Also looks like there was a city back there. I don't know if this is Joshua Tree or whatever, but depending on which way this is facing, it could be, the sky is incredible because Vegas is like 200 miles from there, but it would light the sky like that. Or if you're the other way, Palm Springs and Palm Desert and stuff. But that's so cool seeing the sky lit up like that. And
Yeah.
I'm really a huge fan of this execution. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love these type of shots. I actually haven't done any star photos this year. I didn't. None of my clients wanted to do them, so I was really bummed that I didn't get the opportunity to do any this summer. But this is kind of re-inspired me to push my couples a little bit more and say, hey, let's do this. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
thank you for sharing, Naomi. If you're watching or you watch this at a later time, please post this in the group with some more info on how you shot this, because I would love to. I'd love to see more information on it. So.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Well
and good
done.
job for
Yeah.
using Geekoto. This is the way. Okay, this next photo comes from a local photographer to me, Mark Creary, and he captured this with a on a tripod with a Nikon Z8, 20 millimeter, and f4 for 8 seconds in Tulum, Mexico. Speaking of the Z8, I literally have one on my shopping cart right now, and I'm debating if I should pull the trigger tonight on it. But that's a whole other
Depends on how
uh,
this whole thing goes.
yes, right. So you had some comments to me earlier on this image, Jason, and I want you to start. I want you to start. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, it's I mean, it's familiar. I don't know if that's what I was gonna say, but it's cool. I've seen it. Not
Okay.
that it's just looks. I saw it and I thought, wait a minute, why is our picture there?
So
And
it's
then
similar to one you've done.
yeah, and you know what's funny is I pulled this up a minute ago. Joanne was sitting next to me. She goes, "Yeah, I remember that." I said, "That's not our picture." So yeah,
Oh
it's very
man.
similar to something we did once, and it was in Guyana, on the Atlantic Ocean, and Guyana in the Caribbean. So South America, and it has the palm trees and the starry skies and the ocean. It's cool. But yeah, it was so funny that she thought it was also our picture.
That's funny. That's funny.
Good stuff.
Um,
Good stuff.
yeah. So I'm wondering if this photo was shot with flash or if it was just the ambient light from like the venue or whatever. It looks like it's just ambient light from the venue because there's not really any harsh shadows or anything like that. And it looks like they had to hold pretty still. But um, besides looking like a photo that you guys have taken, what would be some of your critiques on this to make it maybe a little bit better?
Um, it's it's I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's kind of cool if there was any artificial light happening from. I think the venue's probably lighting it. Um, but I do love seeing the details in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I love the blue in the water and all that good stuff. There's not much ground beneath them, and they're almost off the bottom of the frame. And I know it's again hard to do when you're in the middle of a wedding, but I feel like I need them just a little more up so that they're more prominent in the shot and feeling a little more of the ocean there. Um, I know there's a thing to be said for
Not much.
small people, big world. There's definitely a thing to be said for that, but I really would love to be able to see a little more detail of them. Uh, you could probably rim light them with a flash if you wanted to and really go crazy, but obviously it's nighttime. You're in Tulum. You're trying to get this done. But yeah, play with the angles. You could shoot this a hair lower and have them fill up a little more of that horizon line a little bit. Um, and other than that, I mean, I love the streaks from the other buildings. I think it's exposed well. If you did light them with a flash, somehow I would definitely contemplate doing it from a different spot off to one of the sides more. But I think that's honestly just light coming from a big bright venue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, composition, I would just probably adjust a little bit. I don't know. What do you think, buddy?
No, I mean, I don't really see anything necessarily wrong with the image. I love the tones. I love the composition. I think the green and the blue plays off really well. I almost would like to see maybe something a little different with the pose. Like it's creative, but I almost would like to see a little bit more connection between the
Yeah,
couple. That would probably be my biggest critique is, and I can completely understand here because getting a shot like this is very challenging. It's very technical. It's hard to do, and sometimes when you're doing super creative shots like this, the posing kind of falls second, right? And for
yeah,
me, it's kind of a boring pose. Like her left arm is against her body, so there's no shape to her. I would maybe have her like put her weight more on one of her back legs so she's got a little bit more curves to her. Maybe have him angle in a little bit more so there's more of a connection. Basically, I something different to maybe create some more connection between the two of them is what I'm trying to say. So, but technically the photo's phenomenal. I don't have anything to say that like there's nothing big that's jumping out at me that needs to be changed.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Color tones are great. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah. So it's a good photo. It's a good photo.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, Mark. Well, hey, thanks for sharing. Glad you got to go down to Tulum. That sounds fun. I was there in January, not for a wedding though, but I was down there about a year ago, and I want to go back. It's a great spot. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on. This next photo comes from photographer Gretchen Decker. In case you didn't know from the logo. So fun fact, this groom looks like what I looked like when I was 17 years old, my senior year in high school. I'm dead serious. I looked just like this. I had the hair about that long. Didn't, yeah, so pretty funny. Okay, let me start with the pose here, Gretchen. So one thing I generally will try to do is when I'm doing twirling shots like this, sometimes I'll usually have them unbutton their jacket because you can create some weird like creases and some weird folds. So that's something I would do. Um, I think the light's a little too like you don't see a lot of detail in his face. You're losing a lot of detail around his nose and his eye, and that's partially because of his hair. He's got the shaggy look going on, so it's hard. But that's something you need to keep in mind, that when you're doing photos of a couple where both of them have long hair, that it's easy to get really harsh shadows. So in a situation like this, I actually would have used two lights here. You mentioned that you just used one flash. So in this situation, I probably would have used two, one as like a main light, one as a rim light, especially against a dark background like this to get a little bit more separation. Um, I'm trying to see what else what else we could do here. I'm not super stoked on the composition. I do like her expression though. She looks like she's having a really good time. But there's something different maybe about the composition. I can't quite point it out. What are you seeing, Jason?
I mean, when my eye is being drawn to the beautiful chandelier, and then like her torso, because there's so much light on those
Yeah.
things, and the gentleman disappears completely into the shadows and the background,
Mm-hmm.
except for a little bit of his jacket. And I'm not sure if this was completely posed or if it was actually part of them having their first dance. If it was their first dance, then some of these things are understandable. If it was actually a shot that you took the time to set up, I would have probably put the flash, again, if you had the time to do it, I would have had the flash a little more to the right
Mm-hmm.
versus the
Mm-hmm.
left, so that there was some light catching him a little bit better. And again, if you took the time to pose this, the bars in the background are a little distracting and don't add to the story much. But again, if they were just twirling and dancing and have a nice time, hey, that's cool. If it was done on purpose, you probably could have composed this a little differently, where maybe that big chandelier is shot in a way that it's up above them and everything's kind of lined
Yeah.
together. That's like one opportunity where having everything lined up would have worked really well, and get squared up inside of one of the squares of the window and get everything lined up with all of that. That could help a lot. Again, the shadows are crushed on my dude.
Yep.
And I wish I had a little more light on his face, but it's a wedding photo. They look like they're having a great time. I'm sure they're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Just
Great shot.
technical stuff that we're nitpicking. Yeah, so
Absolutely. And this
a
all
little
comes with
bright on the
practice.
lady.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All comes with practice. These photos are hard. Honestly, they're really hard. I even still struggle with them today. Like as far as doing these photos with off-camera flash, I should say, they are very hard to do. So just keep practicing. I've learned that adding two lights to these photos, if you have the time to set it up, it does help a lot. So. Um, Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. This next photo comes from Sean, not me, just Sean. He didn't give a last name,
Sean,
so just Sean. Holy shit, this is cool.
skills. Yeah, skill.
Yeah, I wonder if this was with a drone or if he just had a unique angle, and I'm curious if this was just like completely a reflection or if there was some post production done here to really make.
Well, if you look at the bottom of the boat,
That's what
there's
I'm
like
looking
an
at.
area where it goes from, yeah, super blurry to instantly a solid line, and it runs
Yes.
all the way vertical quite a bit. Oh, and then it goes to the right. It makes a hard turn to the right, and I think that there's just some clever kind of cloning trying to go on here or something to make it expansive and out there, which is cool, like it's art, but you would have to make sure that the audience understand this is art, and this is not how it was captured in camera, because there's no no reason why a photo would go from being have a ton of blur and a deep shallow focal plane to suddenly the subjects are perfectly focused with a hard line like that.
Yeah, I am seeing. That was the first thing I saw too. I'm not sure what's going on there, so it looks like there was definitely some sort of manipulation used here. And now that I'm now that I'm looking at this, I actually see exactly what's going on here. I can
Okay.
see it. So the boat is literally docked on shore, and they
Okay.
cloned out the
The doc.
or the dock or the water's edge or the edge of the land, whatever it is, because you can kind of
Yeah,
see on that bottom right of the boat there's a piece of grass there, so it looks
there is
like
just
that whole left
floating.
side of the frame was cloned out.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, it looks unbelievable. Like when I saw this, I thought, okay, this is straight out of like the Ben Chrisman and Aaron Chrisman Mauricio two-man playbook. Like it's such a cool photo, and I was like, oh, I just love this. And then I'm going, wait, there's some like technical things that are a little goofy, but it's still just such a neat photo. But man, if you could clean those things up so that people like us that are nitpicking it didn't see them, this is
Hmm.
just such a fun photo. If that were me and my wife, I'd have that thing at it's life size in the house. It'd be unbelievable. So it's got a ton of appeal in that regard. It's such a great
Yeah,
photo that in that regard.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, my only critique, because this is one of those images that's so damn creative. You're like, how do I critique an image that's so phenomenal, you know? And I think my only critique, because even the pose is great. I mean, the pose, there's movement, there things that are bending. You know, they're
Yeah.
engaged, they're emotional. So even the pose, the lighting, everything is good. My only main critique would just to be to clean up that area a little bit more that we pointed out. So.
Yeah, yeah, but man, what a cool shot. I wish I had a photo of my wife and I like this, frankly. That's how much I love this. And so, I want this in my house, even if it's them, I'll just take a print.
Right, right.
So,
That's a huge compliment coming from you. So we're seeing some great photos
oh, come
tonight,
on.
everyone. So I'm so stoked to see how much talent there is in this group. So, really,
Great
really
shot.
awesome.
Just
Yeah,
good. Just
definitely.
good. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on. That way I don't drool over this. Actually, I do see one small thing, right of the
Uh-oh.
frame,
Uh-oh.
kind of blown out highlights. It's a little distracting. Maybe crop it in a little bit tighter. That's it. So,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, moving on. We're gonna go ahead and show a photo from photographer Michael Hall. Is it Hall or Hole? I think it's Hole.
Hole,
But
hole,
yeah,
hole, hole,
Hole, Hole,
hole,
Hole, Hole, Hole, Hole. Okay.
hole.
Let's see here.
There's some talent here.
Yeah,
There's some
for
know-how
sure.
and finesse.
Yeah, the pose is good. Oh, I see some banding though. Do you see it? You see the banding on her arm? It's
Where do you see it?
very, it's very, very
Oh,
subtle,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Oh
I
man,
do see
wow.
some
That took a
banding.
second for me to get that. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yep.
unfortunate. What kind of camera was this on it's all cleaned out. The info's all cleaned out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, you want me to go or are you going?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I hate to impose, but um, I mean, the first thing I noticed was that yeah, the subject is super important, but it's also like a gorgeous background, and I wish I had a hair more exposure of those that beautiful greenery and the areas around because I could see him in the shot that he used and shows behind the scenes. I wish I had a little bit more of that. I love the skin tones. I love how soft the light is. Like it's obviously someone who knows how to, light a subject and they know how to use finesse to get what they want out of the camera. Um, Her skin, I don't know if it's been retouched very much or not, but I do see blemishes that were just kind of left
Mm-hmm.
alone,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool. Like do your thing, but I think that a little bit of retouching isn't so bad. There is banding going on the arm. The cello looks unbelievable. The color tones are so rich in that and
Yeah.
beautifully done. Her hair looks incredible. It's moving with the wind a little bit. Um, I just wish I had a little more exposure in the background and in her hair on the right side. And I think I really, really dig it. Otherwise, maybe a slight adjustment with the chin pressing into the hand so much. When we do that type of stuff, we try to have it where it's just kissing and not so much pressed into. So that's a very small nitpick, but that's about
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah, I agree. Everything you said. I think I would like to see almost even like a second light, like a rim light, but just very, very subtle with a softbox.
Mm,
So it's giving her a little bit more separation from the background, but not enough to take away from that nice short lighting again that we were talking about earlier. That would be probably the only thing I would add to this image. as well as decreasing your shutter speed so you can avoid that banding. For those of you who do not know what banding is essentially when the shutter speed in your electronic camera or mirrorless camera or really any sort of camera is too high to keep up with the flash. So you get these little bands of line, which is where the term banding comes from. So my guess is this was probably shot at somewhere over 3,000ths of a second. And Michael Hall, he did confirm that is how you say it. He did provide this behind the scenes photo. And yeah, and actually now that I'm looking at behind the scenes photo, it confirms one of my suspicions that the softbox is a little too far away from the subject. I actually would have liked to see that
Yeah.
softbox a little bit closer. You're going to get even softer light. So this confirms what I was thinking. Michael, bring that softbox in a lot closer. I would say honestly about 5 feet closer if you can.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of us putting the softbox as close to the subject as I can get it without it being in the shot. Basically, like if I can put it right here, it's going right here, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, still masterful, you know, it's very, very high quality work. And then there's a flash on the ground that, and if it did indeed fire, which I feel like it may have, creating a little bit of those highlights along the cello. And oh yeah, you can actually see at the bottom on the cutout on the cello, there's a little bit of light kissing it right there, and that may
Oh,
very
yep.
well have been from that flash on the ground, which
I
is
can see
creating
that
cool
now.
little highlights that are dancing off of things there. So you know, a lot of finesse, you know, a lot of skill. But yeah, I love the idea what you were saying. Give it a little bit of light off the camera right and slightly behind to put a little kiss and definition
Yep.
on the subject there. Very cool
Yeah.
though.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
super cool,
nicely done
Michael.
on the cello. Like, yeah, well done.
Yeah. Thank you so
Anthony, first
much.
name Anthony by chance? Anthony Michael Hall? No, yeah.
Nope. Nope.
Nicely done.
All right. So this next photo
Oh,
comes from an anonymous photographer. Or he or she wanted to rename, or they wanted to remain anonymous. So this is I love the first thing for me is I actually love the color grading here. I think it's quite incredible. Really hard to achieve something like that. Um,
very, very good technique.
absolutely.
And I think they've been to
Dude,
portrait masters because this is where you see these kind of photos a lot as the portrait masters.
yeah, definitely. This is one I could see doing well in a print competition, for sure.
Beautiful.
It's yeah,
Absolutely
it
beautiful.
really is. I mean, the light, it's lit well. The transition of the shadows is very nice. It's very soft. So this was obviously a very large softbox was used here.
Huge light source.
Yeah, very large. I would guess probably
Whoever shot
somewhere.
this, can you DM me? Because I'd love to get some portraits made like this of my wife.
Yeah. Well, I do have this person's email address, so if you want me to, if I can reach out and for you.
Hook a brother up. Yeah, love it.
I'm surprised they wanted to remain anonymous because this is like if this was my phone, I'd be like, hell yeah, I took this shot. Like, this
Yeah.
is but um,
I mean, the light's perfect. The color
mhm.
grading's perfect. It's definitely like a print comp. There's nothing blown out. Even in the metallic, you know, in the headgear, it's like that would be so easy to lose those highlights in that because of the reflectivity of the metallic finish on it. The feathers are so soft looking, and um, you know, the pampas grass, whatever we use there, the shadows or the transitions from the highlights to shadows are
Mhm.
just phenomenal. Nothing's crushed, nothing's blown. It's just a perfect exposure. This takes a lot of skill, a lot of finesse to do, and it's a very specific look. It's that Lola Milani, you know, Sue Bryce vibes, and which are exceptional studio work. Um, it's not something everybody can do. I don't, you know, we can't shoot stuff at this level, or haven't tried anyway. But
Right.
it's exceptional. I don't really know what to say other than the model looks perfect, the pose is great, the outfit's great, the light's great. I mean, the editing's great. It's an exceptional photo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I honestly don't have I really don't have much to add. It's because this is just something I don't really personally do. I don't dig these kind of photos, so unfortunately I don't have so much to add. I'd love to get Amber Henry's opinion on this because this is
Hmm.
kind of more her vibe, and I think she's watching. I don't know if she is or not, but she did comment
Yeah.
earlier. Um, but yeah, no, honestly, I'm trying to find something that I would improve, and I'm kind of coming up a little short, honestly, because this is really
Well,
phenomenal. I
well,
know that is
with something
help
we can.
anonymous photographer, but
Right. Well, something we can share with everybody else that's watching is the way, if you look at the forearms as they're up and the way that the highlight runs along the arm and how perfect and soft that transition is. A lot of times people will get, like, even when you're doing your post production and dodging and burning, they get the face really good and they ignore the rest of the body. But everywhere that a highlight's hitting on this person's body, it's got the proper exposure of that
exactly.
highlight in that place. And so her face isn't brighter than her arms aren't brighter than her face. Her chest has the good level of brightness, and it just tapers away beautifully as it goes lower onto the abdomen. I mean, it just is really a masterful use of light and technique. And if any dodging and burning were done, but this is the kind of detail that, like, I aspire to do when I'm editing portraits and stuff. It's just beautiful.
Absolutely. And Rick Rios commented and saying that maybe the hands could use a little bit of help. And I don't necessarily agree with, or I don't disagree with that. I think maybe the hands are kind of doing some funky stuff there. But yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and I look at that and go, okay, but what do you do with them other than,
right.
she's doing this, she's doing this thing, and so,
Yes.
how much more moving a couple fingers? Yes, that's all we could do is pick some nits at this point and go, yeah, move a finger or two. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's all anybody could come up with, and that's a good thing. So
Yeah.
that's good. Well
Yeah.
done,
No.
well done, whoever this
Yeah.
is, and call me.
Really, really, yeah, really well done, anonymous photographer. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on. We got a few more here. This next photo looks like
All
it's
right.
kind of low res, but this one's from Sandra Miltenberger, and yeah, looks
Oh
like a
yeah.
little bit low res. I think just the super high quality version didn't get uploaded, but that's okay. Okay, so this is a cool spot.
Hmm.
This is a cool spot. So normally, I would say I don't like that the couple's right in the middle of the frame. I do think in this case it kind of works because you have the chandeliers really breaking up the photo. Um, but the one thing I'm seeing, the biggest thing that stands out to me is I can't tell if it's just a low quality photo or low res photo, or if it's out of focus. But the couple seems a little soft to me, and they also seem a little blown out. The highlights are very blown out. At least on my end, that's what it's looking like. Um, Also, uh, Photoshop out that exit sign. It it's annoying.
And the
How
speakers that are hanging up.
Yeah, exactly. They're a little
No, man.
distracting. I would probably crop this in a little tighter, honestly. I think it's a little too wide, but I get that she was trying to show off the whole scenery and the environment, which is a really cool spot. This is a cool wedding ceremony location.
Yeah, yeah. I I can appreciate that they exposed the outdoors correctly. We talked about that earlier on about,
Yes.
45 minutes ago, getting those windows exposed well. What a huge difference seeing the detail in the window and not letting that be
Mm-hmm.
distracting. Another thing that I actually would have tried to do, if it's possible from where they're at, is to shoot it just a hair lower. Well, it would have been hard though with the windows, but if you were darker, you could, and you're putting a flash on them, you can get them up into those windows if possible. It might be difficult because of the way the backgrounds are looking there, but it would have been really cool to see them in that window and get that look exposed to where it's almost looks like it's almost dark out with the dark blue skies, and put a flash on them. But I almost see like those are like side pews on the upstairs of a church, so it could have been complicated. It's an incredibly cool place. Um, Possibly crop it a little tighter so that you don't see the parts off of the sides of the pillars as much. Try to recompose a little lower and bring them up out of there a little bit if you can. But I mean, it's cool. The couple's gonna love it. Flash might be a little hot,
Yeah.
uh, But it's a super neat photo, and if you're just pulling this off on a random wedding day, no one's gonna be mad. That's for sure.
Oh,
It's a
definitely
lot of
not.
fun.
Yeah.
I've shot a million things like this myself. It's cool. It's a super cool photo.
Absolutely. DJ's asking, Sean, on some shots, is it okay to maybe have the subject a little bit on the bright side? Because, in this photo, for example, it makes them really stand out. And, I do think so. Yeah, it's fine to have your couples a little bit brighter. However, not at the risk of blowing out your highlights and losing detail in the skin tones like you are here. And obviously, from this distance, it's not as big of a deal. But it's very apparent to me that the highlights are a little bit blown. So that's just something you want to keep in mind, and easily fixable in Photoshop or Lightroom.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
you could
cool
just
deal.
darken this picture like a tenth or so, a quarter, and it would bring them into a good exposure, and then the windows would be a hair darker, and they'd actually be even a little more visible probably because of the windows getting a little darker. So yeah, good.
Yeah, and Radon brought up a really good point that she would like to see this with a vertical crop, and I actually agree with that. I think this would look awesome with a vertical crop as well.
Neat idea. Yeah,
Yep.
neat idea.
Very cool. Yeah, sometimes cropping,
Dig
as
it.
we've shown in the past, cropping can just completely change the way an image comes off. So
Absolutely. Crop your shit.
crop yo shit, yo. All right, here we go. Moving on to another regular contributor. This guy, I actually haven't seen the photo yet, but this guy always submits really amazing stuff. This comes from Locke Lee, and he had two lights behind the couples. One speed light pointed to their face, and the other strobe to the opposite direction. I'm not really sure what the point of that was, but either way, here's what we got. Um, let's see here. This is cool. This is a nice kind of fall, winter timey image. I'm wondering where this is. It's probably the Pacific Northwest because that's where he's from. But
Pioneer
this
Square.
Pioneer Square. Let's find out. I'm gonna guess Seattle because that's where I believe he's from.
This is bitchin'.
Yep, it's in Washington. It's in Seattle. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, super cool.
Fun picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Good pose. I love that she's got her leg bent, creating some motion. It looks like she's falling into his arms, which is a very romantic pose. Um, he's maybe one thing to try to have him do is create a little bit of separation between his feet, so he's not just standing so like upright. Maybe bring 1 foot back a little bit or 1 foot forward. Um, I'm trying to see. I probably would have backed the light off a little bit as well, so you get a little bit more rim light on their, lighting their whole body, so you can get a little bit more separation, because they are getting a little lost in that background, and I maybe would have also shot this a little bit more shallow as well. Small picky things that I would personally do doesn't necessarily mean they're the right thing to do, but that's what I would do. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really fun image, and what I think is interesting is that the flash in the background is pointing out the couple is actually creating this really cool circle of light under their feet, which oftentimes in shots like this you don't really get to see what's going on down there. But I love the way her feet are placed and the way the shadows are coming and leading to the camera from her toe and everything. That's really fun. It's this is a difficult one because yeah, the trees are really really complicated, and the all the lights are really complicated, and they help where you can see them easier where they are shadowed down low around their torsos and whatnot. But it's a little more difficult to see and really make out from the chest up in their faces because there's just so much brightness going on around them, and it's hard. Like how much lower do you shoot this from to get them up into the darker spots, or do you underexpose at another half a stop to just make everything, in the background a little less bright and get those highlights a little less blown? I don't know. It's a really much a matter of taste at this point,
Right.
than a matter of how you want to crop. And he could have shot it a little closer, took their legs out of it, and put them up into the tree more. But it's then you're shooting 45 degrees, so it's a great photo. I'm sure they love it. Flash is just a hair bright maybe, and backing it away a little bit to rim them a little bit better. But it's really cool. It's a lot of fun, and even didn't have a bunch of people wandering around, which is
I was
nice,
just
unless
about
you
to say
clone them
it's
out.
pretty impressive he didn't get photos of a whole bunch of people around. He must have either done this like super late at night or it must have been like really cold. I don't know, but um,
Yeah, but it's a fun photo. I think it's really well done, and it's a good variation on the usual rim light, photos we all see, and we see all the time. It's a cool shot.
yeah. And Dan just said something that I was actually going to recommend. I was literally just about to say this, and he beat me to it. He said, "What if you shot this with a long lens and shot them tight and turned those lights behind them into Pokeballs?" And
Yep.
yes, I agree. You could do that as well. You'll lose a little bit of detail in the like you won't be able to see the buildings or anything like that. But that is absolutely another way to shoot this, where you would get a little more focus on the couple and have and kind of cut out some of that background clutter. So you could absolutely do that as
Yeah.
well. Okay.
Yeah, Joe
Well,
has a really cool. Joe has a cool shot she did like that from a wedding, and there was the lights behind them, and it's just like these huge, beautiful balls of light floating around them. It's a great way to do it. Absolutely.
definitely, definitely. All right, moving on. Thank you so much, Locke, as always. We're going to go ahead. We got a few more photos. This next photo comes from photographer Austin Alvarez. He used two speed lights here, an LED multicolor octagon grid. This is for a senior football photo shoot in Texas.
Nice.
Football is big in Texas. What are you gonna
It's
say?
always so hard to get, the light just right with the helmet like that. It looks
Oh,
Yep,
great.
yeah.
yep. And using the lights, yeah, yeah. We shoot a ton of stuff like this, and I love looking at it.
Yeah, and
It's
he
fun.
did include a behind the scenes photo, which we'll show after this, but which in it really shows how I was able to capture this without getting too many distracting highlights on the helmet and all that. So, yeah, really, really,
Yep.
really well lit. This is I probably would have maybe just as just me nitpicking. I would have maybe moved slightly to the right so the that line that's in the top of the frame is a little bit more centered. Yep, exactly. That's probably the only main critique I would do. Or since you can't go back obviously in time, probably what I would do is actually just clone that out, just Photoshop that one part out, and I think you would it would actually add
Yeah.
a lot to the image if you got rid of that part.
Yeah.
But what a cool idea to have the purple on the purple. Purple LED lights complementing the purple jersey. It's lit beautifully. This dude is ripped. For being a high school student. Um, yeah, what a cool photo. So cool. I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but there's like a line coming down from his right eye. Do you see that? Like there's like I don't know if it's a scar or
Yeah. So
I don't think it
he's got a
is.
visor on. He's wearing a
Oh.
clear visor on his helmet, and so you're getting some kind of a reflection or something, or there's a line
Oh,
in the
yep.
visor,
I see that now.
something like
Yeah.
that.
So that could
Yeah.
be that's just
Yeah.
something to touch up. Kind of clone that
Yeah.
line out right there that I'm highlighting on my screen right now. Maybe clean up this little
Yeah.
shadow that's on the left side of his face. Really small nitpicking things. Maybe denoise it just a tad. Looks like the focus
We
is
shoot
a
a ton of stuff
little
like this.
slightly off. Yeah, the focus is more on the ball than his face. Um, really small things. It's lit super well though.
Yeah, we shoot a ton of sports, make a lot of sports banners, and I'm a huge fan of the cross-lit strip boxes for athletes. It doesn't work for a lot of looks, but when it comes to an athlete, it's like the perfect way to light a subject. And then what I really think is cool is that the LED lights in the background are creating this really fun color on color rim light on the subject, which you don't always
Yes.
get that. And it's coming from all angles since those lights are all around. It's not just from above or anything. It's from below, above, sides, everything. And so he looks like almost like a cartoon, which is a cool thing for an athlete. I'm sure they love it.
Yeah.
Um, the exposure is really good. The arms are a little brighter than obviously the faces because they are out there closer to the strip boxes. So I would have probably brought the highlights down a hair to match the face, then bring all of it up together, or however you were going to do it, make it work. Um, but yeah, this is super cool. Make a great sports photo, make a great sports banner, and we love doing stuff like this. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. And here's the behind the scenes of how he captured it. Looks like he's got two strip boxes, a nice backdrop to get rid of all the clutter, and just put those LEDs in front of it. So Really simple lighting setup, but a very effective photo. So good job, man. This is one
Yeah.
of the best photos I've
Yeah.
seen from you. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Well
Um,
done. Well done.
yeah. Okay, moving on. This next photo is from
Yeah,
someone
this is cool.
that you know, I think. And this is from photographer Dan Dalstra.
Oh, hey, I heard of that guy.
What a cool
I've heard of
boudoir
him.
photo. This is a little different, too, than your typical boudoir
Yeah.
shot.
Film noir style.
Yeah, right. This was he had his model stand in front of two V flats, one showing black and the other white. He used two lights,
Smart.
both were Geekoto GT200s and a 36-inch strip box camera left to light the subject, and another GT200 and a mag box pointed at the white V flat to really blow it out. Just a bit of contrast in
Wow.
Photoshop, and here you go. And note,
Wow.
everyone, how he short lit her as well.
Yeah. Extremely so. Oh, and I love it.
Yeah, we're picking on Colby a little bit tonight, because he was the one who broad lit that bride. So now we're picking on him a little bit. But
Oh,
yeah,
poor guy. Yeah. Sorry.
no. But I do like the I do like how he placed the V flat on the right side of the image because it accentuates her curves, a little bit more, which it was a very good call. I feel like if you had her
Yep.
turned the other way, for example, you would lose those curves right there, and it wouldn't
Yep.
be as an effective photograph. But so creative. I love this. I'm sure the client would love this. The lighting is just spot on.
Yeah. Dan's a
Yeah.
talented dude, and it's really cool to see this. And this is a really good example of where using short light, and regardless of any other picture, this photo needs this because if you broad lit her or lit her in any other technique, the entire concept goes away. You cannot take this photo without short lighting the subject the way you did. And then another cool thing is that that V flat is lit so hot that it's actually kicking back some light and giving
Right.
us just a little bit of highlight along those curves to the right side of the body and along the small of the back,
Yep.
the shoulder, which her traps look amazing. Like this person obviously lifts, like they're in incredible shape. Love the highlight hitting the traps and the rear deltoids and the glute and everything. It just looks super cool and they look super fit. Another cool trick, guys, if you want to make any person look stronger than they are too, is again using the light the same way the previous photo was done by Austin, and also the way Dan's done here. Creates tons of highlight and shadow play, which brings out muscle. It's really hard to show it with big broad light from the front, but when you start letting the shadows work, you can really see that definition come through. It's a great way to shoot athletes and great way to shoot boudoir as well.
Definitely. And for those of you who don't know Dan, he was our image critiquer last month. So if you didn't catch that, rewatch the video because that was also a very good critique, and we had some good photos there as well. So yeah, I don't have anything to add. Honestly, not this is not something I generally do, so I can't add too much. But good job. Everything from the pose,
Yeah,
the light, the just super super cool. So yes, you're welcome, Dan.
well thought out.
You're
Well
welcome.
done, sir.
All right, we got two more photos trying to keep us on track here. This next photo comes from the second to last photo comes from DJ Clark, and it was either this or a photo of sourdough bread. As he was finally successful at baking. Good job, DJ. He shot this at a 20th of a second, 2.8 ISO 100. Okay, not really sure why he did that, but we'll dive into it. And he was on a stool to get some height. Okay, so the reason why I said that is I think it's a little soft and it looks like it's maybe for some motion blur. So instead of shooting at ISO 100, you could have shot this at ISO 800 and shot this at 100th or even 200th of a second, and you would have had a much sharper image. So that's probably, modern cameras are so nice nowadays that, you can shoot at a higher ISO and still really not lose that much image detail. Obviously, 15 years ago, we couldn't do that. But well, actually, maybe 15 years ago, dude. Yeah, 15 years ago, is when like the D700 came out. Dude, we're getting old, man. Shoot, we're getting old.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, shoot. Okay, but anyway, a fun, kind of scary horror vibe.
I do.
Well, yeah, it's not. I mean, it's a fun photo. What would you? It's kind of got that old film noir vibe, but what would you add
Yeah.
to? What would you?
I mean, it's so I think that it accomplishes what you're trying to do really well. It works as what it is. It's not meant to be a pretty picture. It's not meant to be like oh, it's so soft and gentle. It's meant to be hard, and it's meant to be harsh, and it's meant to be a bit like kind of punk rock, and it's really cool. One thing I do notice right away though is that there's not much of that's been done with retouching. So I see a bruise on the forearm, and I see uneven
Yeah,
skin tones. And if those are important to you, those are things that a lot of hair that's just kind of going everywhere. It's okay the bigger pieces, but sometimes those small parts that are just coming across the face or just randomly coming out of nowhere, it's just good to clean that stuff up and really take the picture to another level. Elbows are dark, and there's just a lot of like imperfections, which all humans have. But if you want a little cleaned up look, just kind of work on that stuff a little bit. The face as a hair exposure is just right on the edge, the highlights on the right side of the subject's face. And again, the nose, there's a lot of like textural things going on in the makeup and stuff like that. So, just I would clean that stuff up. And I like the hard light. It works perfectly for this. And it's a really fun, interesting photo, and they probably love it. It's cool.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, really, I don't have anything else to add to that as well. It's just a fun photo. I think the way it's lit works. I think your intention was well captured. So good job.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our final photo of the night. Woohoo! This photo comes from another photographer that I know. Well, I technically know most of you, but this guy is Roy Seraphin, and he told his couple to lay on the ground, and then he ran up 6 flights of stairs, only to remember that elevators exist.
Mm, yeah. I'm not
Yeah,
running
so
unless the cops are chasing me.
yeah, so, exactly. Um, yeah, quality looks a little low resolution, so I think that's just an upload error or
Yes.
something. But one thing that really stands out with to me is, and I can't tell if it's selective color or if the stairs were really um, like just this monotone color. But I think if it is selective color, this is one of those very very few examples where it's done very well, and
Yeah.
it absolutely adds to the image because you have um, that red that you have such a busy uh, environment, so super busy, but you have this nice symmetry, these nice leading lines. You're cutting out all the distractions in a super distracting environment, and you're going straight to the couple, which is a perfect way to execute an image like this. um, so bravo, really, really solid, and you avoided keeping them out at the center of the frame, so you get the nice composition there. I think the pose is fun. Yeah, I don't have. It's hard because it's kind of low res, and I'm trying to like I'm
Yeah.
trying to see like if there's something I could do with the pose a little bit different. Maybe have her come up off of her hip just a little bit more. Um,
I love the guy's legs. Those are great.
Yeah, I was just about to say that I love what his legs are doing, and I almost feel like maybe because her like feet are touching each other, and I almost feel like maybe she should bring one of her legs up a little bit or something
Yeah.
to almost to mirror that.
Yeah. And then the hand could come across the stomach, maybe, or something, or just below the chest like this, just to give that hand something to do. But I mean, yeah, that's nitpicking. He said that the stairs this is full color photo. They're just great black and white, very industrial staircase,
Oh
which is
wow,
super cool.
that's
I
amazing.
love that. And you know what I like too is so a lot of people like just to shoot everything wide open. I love that. This I don't know what lens was used because there's no EXIF data, but obviously, I mean, this is like an f8 type shot because a lot of times the background and foreground can be distracting, but in a picture like this, there are essential elements to help frame the subjects and tell the story. And I don't want to see a bunch of blur and a really shallow depth of field. I want the detail and all these incredible lines happening in this photo because they help add something to the photo. So I'm a big fan of that. I think it's exposed really well. I wish it was a higher resolution because I'm getting a this big on my screen. I have to zoom it into, pixelated, but I just love this. I love the colors. I love the way it's exposed. Really well done. I've seen this photos done like this quite a bit. I think that several of our friends have photos like this. Doesn't mean it can't keep being done. It's a cool concept, and this one's really unique in the color of the staircase and the colors they're wearing, and it's a lot of fun. Really well done photo.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was shot at 20 millimeters at f8. So
Oh, look at
yep. So
that!
you're
I
spot
guess
on.
I've been doing this a little while.
Yes,
So
absolutely,
nicely done,
absolutely,
nicely done. Yeah,
definitely.
well done,
Cool.
sir.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I don't have too much to add. I think it's really well done. It's solid. Good stuff, Roy. Thank you so much for sharing. That was that was a really good way to end this. So, and speaking of ending, we are done. We are done. This was
All right.
officially the last photo or the last photo critique of 2023. So Jason, I was super honored that you were here to join us. Is there anything else you would like to share, or where can people find your work? I should ask. Where would be a good place for
Yeah,
people to follow you and Joanne?
yeah, I mean, they can always hit our Instagram and check out what Joe and I are up to. Our Instagram handles Imagine Photo AZ. We will be at all the big shows starting in January. We're going to be if anybody that's into sports and seniors, we're going to be speaking at Sync in Florida. We're going to be at Imaging USA. We'll be speaking there. We'll be hanging out at WPPI, and I'm sure we'll be doing some education there as well. We're always around somewhere. If you're at a show, you're probably going to run into us. We love taking selfies. We love hanging out with people. Come say hi. You know, we look forward to meeting everybody and sharing, and and having a good time. So thanks for having me, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was great seeing you again. I will definitely see you at WPPI. I will be there as well as a speaker. If you guys haven't signed up yet for one of my classes, please make sure you do so before they all sold out. If they haven't already sold out, I'm not sure. I haven't checked, but yeah. Well, we'll get to the end of this, and that is announcing the winner of the free Pro Prints canvas. And that winner, who was randomly selected, was Michael Hall, not Hole. So, Michael, congratulations. Go ahead and message me. I'll get that promo code out to you. And I hope you all have a phenomenal holiday season. You're staying warm if you're in the cold weather. And we will both see you all starting in January. Jason, once again, really appreciate your time. Say hi to Joanne for me. Tell her to stop vacuuming
Mhm.
the concrete. And
That's my favorite thing to do.
That's our favorite thing to do.
Oh, I know. You definitely make that known. So, hey
Love it.
guys, appreciate it. Hope you have a great
Thank you for
holiday
having me,
season.
sir. Yeah.
Of course, of
Thanks,
course.
everybody.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye bye.